Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to a special edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, hashtag ODPH podcast. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And joining us in studio for this very special episode is your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Wrestling!
Yes, that's right. We are bringing back, by popular demand, a wrestling recap episode. Now, we haven't done one of these in a while. And we usually try tying this into when our favorite local federation, Excite Wrestling, is doing a show. And they did an absolutely killer show this past weekend.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. To try justifying and explaining and just really detailing, I don't think I'll do it enough justice. But Team Moose and company down there absolutely tore the place down. So shout out to Johnny Moose and everybody there. And among the star-studded lineup that they had, along with the regulars from the Excite roster, there's such a talented roster, too. There are some members that are going to be featured in a new promotion. Now, we were fortunate enough, we saw the Lucha Brothers wrestle, MJF, Joey Ryan, who, as far as I know, is not signed there, but they are all kind of hanging around the banner of All Elite Wrestling.
So Joey Ryan does have a very good working relationship with the powers that be at All Elite Wrestling.
Right, and if you've been living under a rock and following pro wrestling, you don't know about this federation. Now, this new wrestling league is started up by the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes. And when their contracts were let up at the beginning of the year, they decided to form their own new company.
And the backing of the Khan family of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. So they have just turned overnight into a major player in the land of professional wrestling. And there was so much hype about this because at the time, everybody's contract was up amongst them. Kenny Omega was coming up very shortly after. Hangman Adam Page, the main members that you see featured in the Bullet Club that we would see on the internet show being the Elite and just, you know, the high-profile characters, I want to say, but the wrestlers that we would see here in the States.
I'm saying there was a lot of build-up and a lot of teasing with it because if you go back and you watch some of those episodes leading up to when they announced All Elite Wrestling, there was a lot of teasing of what were they going to do because I know there was a couple episodes where they'd have H send, you know, random messages or randomly show up, of course, supposed to be Triple H from WWE. But, like, they were doing a very good job at, like, hyping up and kind of keeping everyone in the dark what they were going to do because it was very hard to tell.
Right. This one was a very well-played segment with the fans and just interaction because nobody knew at the time what was going to happen. I mean, it's heavily rumored they might go sign with the WWE. They might stay with Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. We didn't know at the time. So to see them jump into the fray of doing their own company is very interesting to see. And as has been going on, we've seen more names have been signed to the roster.
Yeah, so just running through the list of these are the folks that, you know, have signed with them or that are working with them. You have Adam Hangman Page, who of course has been featured on Being the Elite before in the past. You have Brandy Rhodes, who of course is the wife of Cody Rhodes. You have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with them. You have Y2J, Chris Jericho, signed with them. Christopher Daniels, of course, Cody. Frankie Kazarian, the bad boy Joey Janela. You have, of course, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. You have Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, as we mentioned before. And then they're in a working relationship with OWE, the OWE roster. And, you know, you just kind of run through the list. I mean, of course, you've got Pac, formerly known as Neville from his time in WWE. You've got Penelope Ford is over there with them. You've got Scorpio Sky, Billy Gunn, you know, just to name a few. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But there are some serious heavy hitters, you know, in this promotion that it's making a lot of waves.
Right, and they did do a big press conference to announce the signings, or some of the names that we've heard now get mentioned, and obviously it was capped off by the signing of Chris Jericho, which he's been a long time associated with the WWE and WCW, and I mean, he's one of the all-time greats in pro wrestling. And now they're all building up for a show May 25th in Las Vegas, Double or Nothing. And they've been slowly adding more names to the roster. The ones that are, Pat, do you have some names?
Yeah, so they've added Sonny Kiss, who, of course, if you've been to an Excite show in the last year, I was featured in a couple of shows. I can't remember the exact number, but showed up in the 607 area. Sammy Guevara, Kylie Ray, Nyla Rose, Chucky T, Trent Beretta. Of course, Kenny Omega was the big splash shortly after this was formed because his contract went out a little longer than the other folks in charge of AEW. But it's just one of those rosters that you look at them like, all right, you've got the pieces there. You can do some stuff with this.
Absolutely. Coach, what's your feeling so far on AEW?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's a T-shirt company until they get a show out there. I'm more concerned about what they're going to do from a structural standpoint. I mean, TV is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And TV makes or break you. I mean, look at Impact as, a kind of a primary, secondary figure in the wrestling scape right now, and their TV contracts have been, pretty much non-existent, to now just being on Twitch. So I think they got to land on something big, for them to be able to sink or swim in this. I mean, you throw out all the networks out there. Obviously Fox is going to be out of it, but you have like a TNT or a TBS, a Turner, something like that. If they land on a network like that, that would help because they have mainstream media and they also have the cable syndicate. The roster's great. I mean, getting Kenny Omega was huge because Omega right now is so hot in the industry and in putting on such classic matches and, able to do everything from a comedy match to, the big time main event. Obviously, we just saw Pentagon and Phoenix and they were tremendous. Pentagon really, I had never seen him live except for when I was in Mania 2 years ago, and he's really improved a ton since then. That match was amazing and exciting. And then, I mean, obviously Jericho is a seasoned vet, but I mean, really, does Jericho turn the table enough to draw interest? Because I mean, he is up there in age as far as it's concerned, and I mean, really, what does he have left right now to prove as far as an in-ring career? So, yeah, I mean, I like Cody. He's a tremendous. Obviously, what he did for Excite Wrestling is amazing. Kudos to him for being a stand-up guy. And the Bucks obviously are an awesome tag team. So the roster's there. It's just I want to see what they can do from the logistical standpoint, I guess.
No, yeah, that's definitely the thing is like they've got the pieces are there, and you look at their history in what they did with All In. Yes, All In was a good show, but like,
that was a great show.
It was a great show, but I just want to make sure it wasn't a flash in the pan before it fizzles out. The pieces are there. It's it's like if you give somebody a Lamborghini. Lamborghini's a nice car, but if you don't know how to drive it, it doesn't matter. There are nice pieces in this system, but if you don't pull it off in the right way, like Coach said, TV deal, good matches, good pay-per-view, and something that personally to me feels like, all right, this isn't just a wash, rinse, repeat of what we've been seeing in professional wrestling of the last 10, 15 years, then it's just going to be lost in the shuffle of, oh, it's just another wrestling company.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time to be a wrestling fan because now you have for the first time in a really long time, at least in my opinion, true competition that might and stand up to the WWE.
Yeah.
Well, once they get going.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's a nice thing because there hasn't been anything because Impact just hasn't been able to do it. And unfortunately, as good as or as potential as ROH has had, they just haven't been able to have the backing financially from Sinclair to take that next step. And I mean, New Japan they can't get a foot in America to be able to do anything that would really put them as the second, in America. Obviously in Japan, I mean, it's a great product, but it's just here they haven't been able to grasp any fans. So, I agree with you,
Ken. You mentioned ROH. Yes, ROH has had some good matches, and they've had good talent over the years, but like me, myself, as a professional wrestling fan, I haven't been like, oh, there's an ROH show this weekend, I want to go watch it. Like, yeah, they've had their moments, Young Bucks super kicked 48 people in one of the wildest endings of a pay-per-view I think I've ever seen. But outside of that, it's, oh, hey, there's an ROH pay-per-view this week. No thanks.
Well, for me, I'm a big ROH fan, and I try watching it when I can. It's just a lot of times there's so much going on that I don't get a chance to really focus on it. But, I mean, I do love watching their shows when I get the chance to. I mean, Jay Lethal is a tremendous talent. Dalton Castle we've seen from 2CW. over there, and he's tearing it up right now. And a lot of the guys that we've seen, like SCU, who are now joining AEW, and the Young Bucks were there too. You've seen a good fluctuation of talent go form in this federation, and like we've kind of vaguely touched upon, the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix, who wrestled here for Excite Wrestling this past weekend, they're going to be working the Double or Nothing May 25th pay-per-view in Vegas for All Elite Wrestling. They're going to be taking on the Young Bucks. You got Kenny Omega taking on Chris Jericho. So coming out the gate, though, I think they're generating enough excitement that where they go from here, obviously Coach has touched upon it, and I think they need to do it as well. They have to get a TV deal if they really want to make a run. Now, do I think they want to go try competing with the WWE? I don't think so. I think they want to kind of carve their own niche and see where they go.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, Cody's made it very clear as far as the standpoint of, obviously Wrestlemania coming up. It's a huge weekend for independent wrestling as well. I mean, it's almost like the Woodstock of wrestling. You know, I mean, every major player is holding an event there. I mean, even, Impact has a show, ROH has a show, JoeyJanela has a show, ISW, all these independent companies all have shows. And, Cody's already said that All Elite won't run on that weekend. So, yeah, I mean, they clearly show that they don't want to be competition. But for us, as wrestling fans, we want that,
Yeah, because you look at the history of wrestling, and even if you're a seasoned veteran of professional wrestling or you're just getting into it for the first time, everyone knows anyone who goes up against the WWE doesn't win. Like, you just look at the history. You look at WCW, TNA, ROH, New Japan. Yeah, they've gone up against them, and none is more so than WCW years ago. But, nobody's really competed with them. I think AEW and the guys there, they're not going to try to compete with WWE. They're just going to say, listen, we're going to be there. We're going to do our own thing. Like Coach said, we're going to carve our own niche and kind of differentiate ourselves from everybody else where, yeah, you've got a lot of people who are fans of professional wrestling that might be a little tired of the product, might be a little tired of the wash, rinse, repeat nature of some of the stuff, especially you see in WWE these days. And I think what you're going to see what Cody and the Bucks do is, hey, we're going to be a professional wrestling company, but we're going to be a breath of fresh air, something new.
Well, I agree with you on most of that, but I think the only company that truly tried competing with the WWE was WCW. I think ROH is always kind of stuck in their own lane, and they've done a tremendous product, and I think that they do their own thing.
Well, Impact did make a run because they did move the show to Monday nights, but it went quickly.
Impact took a shot, and it didn't go through. Well, that was more TNA than Impact, and they transition. Well, just to clarify though, because the current product of Impact, when you can catch it, is actually very good. I highly recommend it. I love what they're doing on Impact right now.
You can say this incarnation.
Yes. I think they've done a tremendous turnaround from where the company that was trying to compete, so to speak, with the WWE. Because I think there was a lot of just missteps when TNA was trying to compete with them, and it just ultimately backfired on them. And then now they've transitioned to Impact, and Impact is just so much better. But getting to the point, though, I think it's very interesting that AEW is waiting, and they're trying to build the anticipation up. That they're not running a show this weekend. Right. I assume we will see them at some point or hear about them during WrestleMania week.
I would be willing to bet that with as many good working relationships as all the top folks in that company, which, Cody, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, they're all like upper echelon management in that company. They've got very good working relationships with a lot of folks in the independent wrestling scene. While they may not be running a show this weekend, you can almost guarantee that they will be showing up at places.
Yeah, and I think that just their sheer presence right now has kind of shifted the balance a little bit in pro wrestling. Just the fact that I think it's sent a message to the other federations that there's a new player in town, especially to the WWE. It just kind of seems that there's just a little more reaction to them than maybe an upstart promotion normally would have. Yeah, that they're on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys heard what Jericho had said this past weekend, but he had done an interview where he was like, yeah, WWE's washing me from the existence there. Like at first, it was a working agreement. Vince was okay with all this, and then something very much changed.
Yeah, no, I read an article where he was giving an interview, and he wanted to set up some interviews with some of the wrestlers from WWE on his podcast, so he could interview them and they could really hype up Mania. And he was basically told no.
Yeah, I guess that
and like you said, anyone who knows Chris Jericho's history with WWE, he was very much a company man for like 20 some odd years.
Oh yeah, so I mean, obviously to hear that the rumors that there is some ruffling in the feathers, and like I said, Jericho's been very vocal about it lately.
Yeah, he has.
That there is an issue and a discord between them. it's kind of very interesting and telling, so to speak. So that being said, though, going into May 25th, there's a lot of hype going on with AEW. The pay-per-view is already sold out. Pat, you got the card in front of you as it stands?
Yeah, so the card as it stands is Adam Hangman Page versus Pac in a singles match, SoCal Uncensored versus SEMA and two folks from OEW in a six-man tag team match, Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho in a singles match. You've got Dr. Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose versus Kylie Ray in a three-way match. You've got Cody scheduled for a match, although from what I'm reading in front of me, the opponent is not yet announced. You've got Sonny Kiss versus Kip Sabian versus Brandon Cutler versus Ace Romero versus one person to be announced in the over-the-budget Battle Royal. And then you've got the Young Bucks, of course, Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Lucha Bros of Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix in a tag team match for the AAA World Tag Team Championship.
Now, that's all going to be on pay-per-view, so there's going to be more information coming out about that, so keep your ears out to all social media for AEW. But to close this out, that's a pretty stacked card. Coach, let me start with you. Is there one wrestler that you'd like to see join AEW? If you could, do matchmaking and do your own fantasy booking here.
I mean, I guess for the sake of the discussion, the man who goes by Coach on Twitter, I think CM Punk would be a ton of fun to be able to get a chance to go against like a matchup with him and Kenny Omega. Even though Punk hasn't been in the ring for 4 years, I think he could knock the rust off and do it. I mean, I don't think it will ever happen. Let me put that out there right now for all you people out there. I don't think this will ever happen. I'm just saying that deep down, somewhere inside of me, I still love CM Punk, and I would love to see him against Omega, him against Cody. I think would be cool now, especially now that Cody's improved so much. Him and Hangman would be a lot of fun. So I think a lot of those matchups against the Elite would be a lot of fun with him.
Pat?
I'm not going to go with a wrestler. I'm going to go with wrestlers, plural. I'm going to say Anderson and Gallows, of course, because, famously had their run with the Bullet Club in New Japan for years before they hopped over and signed with WWE. Who, I mean, let's be honest, they really haven't done anything to wow me in their time in WWE. Now, that's through no fault of their own. They are both very, very good wrestlers, but just WWE's dropped the ball with them, in my opinion. And there hasn't really been any outside of, they were in the Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania a couple years ago where the Hardys showed up. They really haven't done anything other than a few funny catchphrases. So I would like to see them hop over there and just see what kind of, fun they could tear into and just really go crazy.
For me, there's two. There's one, a tag team, and then one singles wrestler.
Okay.
One, I've been waiting to see the Revival face the Young Bucks for years, and just the online Twitter war, and just to see probably, and this is arguably the two best tag teams in professional wrestling go at it. So for me, on that standpoint, because I do love tag team wrestling, I think it'd be a great match to see if that should ever happen, if the cards should fall that way. The singles wrestler, though, that I would like to see join them is Zack Ryder.
Ooh, okay.
And I think that Zach has always had this, potential that we just really haven't seen demonstrated in WWE. Like, he started out doing his own, the Z Long Island Story, the internet show. I'm blanking on the exact name of it.
Yeah, it was Long IZ. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, like the true Zack Ryder story.
And it was tremendous.
It was amazing. He actually doesn't get enough credit for kicking off the internet experience for professional wrestlers and doing hype.
I would definitely say that without Zack Ryder's influence in that area, I definitely don't think that
being
the elite ever starts. Yeah,
I agree. I fully agree. And I think that he's had flashes where you think, okay, now he's finally going to get able to shine more.
I'll say the Intercontinental Ladder match, or what was it, WrestleMania 32 a couple years ago, where he won it and then oops, he dropped it the very next night.
Right. It was like instances like that because he's gotten himself over. And he's really...
I remember the crowd reaction from that. Like, everyone was cheering and very happy for him.
Yeah, absolutely, because he does put a lot of work in. And I just don't know if he does get those opportunities to show his talent enough. That I always think that he's always kind of staying in his own gimmick. But if there's anybody that could really break out and just get a fresh start and just do something different, I think it's him, in my opinion.
Well, and I think it's been Cody that's kind of laid that groundwork that you can go outside WWE and still be successful. Just you have to market and brand yourself right, and Cody did that exactly.
Yeah, he set the blueprint for if anybody wanted to start out doing independent wrestling and doing their own way, he laid the groundwork. AEW is following right in suit. So where they go from here is going to be anybody's guess. But hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about AEW joining the professional wrestling ranks? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for another segment on this special edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, hashtag ODPH podcast. We're talking pro wrestling, and last segment we're talking about AEW and maybe some wrestlers that might be joining up with them in the near future. We are proud to say we have a returning guest coming on the podcast. Maybe he'll be joining up with them down the road, maybe not, but if it's pro wrestling and it's WrestleMania weekend, we have to call in our friend to the show. He is Mr. WrestleMania to us. Ladies and gentlemen, returning to the ODPH podcast, it is the one, the only, George Gatton. George, what's going on?
What's going on, y'all? Good to hear from you again. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime, brother. Now, a lot has changed since we spoke to you last, so why don't you kind of fill us in on what's been going on?
Just a little bit, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, I spoke to you while living down here.
Yes, in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. I quit, and now I'm returning. I think that's really the big news, huh?
Yeah, coming out of retirement.
I am.
So what made you kind of get the itch to come back here, so to speak?
So here's the thing, man. I think I accomplished whatever I wanted to in pro wrestling, truly, from my heart. You know, I lived my childhood dream, and I think that was first and foremost the most important aspect of this whole thing. But listen, man, JoeyJanela pretty much runs WrestleMania weekend now. And, you know, a couple months ago, I saw he tweeted something along the lines of, if you travel more than 8 hours and you hand me a hot dog and shake my hand, first person that does it has a spot in the clusterfuck. You know, knowing Joey, I thought it was a joke, right?
Right.
Joey's been a friend of mine for years. You know, he helped me out a lot, especially when I first started in wrestling. I used to travel with him every Wednesday to the Dojo Wars program. You know, he lived about 5 minutes from me. So, you know, I read that, and I was gonna hang out with him while I was up visiting my folks for Christmas break. And before I got to the bar, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go stop off, and I'm going to grab a hot dog, and I'm going to see if he remembers. I get out of the car, I hand him the hot dog, I shake his hand. The next thing I know, I'm in the clusterfuck. And, you know, I did it part of the story, right?
Right.
I did it part of the story, but, man, it turned into the biggest match of WrestleMania weekend, you know, other than, of course, you know, the WWE stuff. But, I mean, as far as indies go, GCW's killing it right now. And, listen, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A lot of people want it. And, you know, I feel very lucky and I feel very fortunate that I got it.
So let me ask you this, George, because when you were doing your wrestling, I mean, you wrestled up here for 2CW and Excite Wrestling. You know, we know you from CZW and obviously Wrestle Circus down in Austin. And so at this point, how long had you been retired before you ran into Joey?
Let's see. So I had my last match June of 2017. So, shit, almost 2 years. I had a match back in January. But other than that, yeah, man, it's been almost 2 years.
Right. So obviously now, I mean, you have some time off. You've been doing some other things, and then you run into JoeyJanela, who's now signed with AEW, and obviously, like you were touching upon, does one of the biggest independent wrestling shows of WrestleMania weekend.
Yes, sir. He's listen, man. There's nobody like JoeyJanela in the world. Straight up.
Oh, absolutely.
That go through that dude's brain. It's just magic. Like, who else is booking La Parka versus Masato Tanaka? Who's even thinking about that? Who's thinking about Shinjiro Otani versus Nick fucking Gage?
Yeah.
That's a real match, man. Those are real matches, and they're going to be awesome, and nobody else can even begin to think of something like that.
Yeah.
But, Janela's that guy, man.
His spring break has now become legendary. over WrestleMania weekend.
It's awesome. It's awesome, man. It really is. The first one I, attempted to referee during his match with Marty Jannetty. I ended up getting tombstoned while trying to slide in. Pretty sure Kit Osborne got pile driven on my lifeless corpse, as I later found out. But, hopefully I'll fare a little better this year, right?
Yeah, so do you want to try explaining what the CF is for all our listeners that are not sure?
Cool.
Best you can.
CF, or do you want me to uncensor myself? It's up to you.
Either way, I mean, we do have the explicit language, so anybody that's joining in now, listener discretion is advised with George's language, so go right ahead.
Yeah, okay, cool. If I offend, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. The clusterfuck is more or less a giant battle royal, but other than going over the top rope, you could be pinned and eliminated. You could be submitted and eliminated, or you could die. There's actually elimination by death.
Now that is a true statement.
I witnessed Wheeler Yuta get eliminated by death last year. Not only that, but backstage I witnessed Yuta getting revived by the great Sasuke. But he was dead, man. He was dead. And word on the street is that Destro, who's known as the handler of PCO, may or may not have revived someone, a very talented professional wrestler who may or may not be invisible.
Really?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I believe night 1 of spring break, we're going to be seeing the Invisible Man take on his brother, Invisible Stan.
Amazing. Simply
Nobody
amazing.
else can pull this off, man.
Yeah, no, Janela has one of the most creative minds. Like when you just see her, how DIY he is about his stuff, and just the ideas he goes with, and like I say, for our listeners who are not familiar, you should just really do like a web search and just find out all like the cool stuff he does. Just truly one of a kind.
There's nobody like him. Listen, he'll be the first to tell you he's broken every single rule as far as what you should and should not do. I used air quotation marks. You can't see me, but you know the deal.
Right.
But Janela breaks the rules, man. He makes his own rules, and that's a huge reason why he's been as successful as he is. In a world like we live in, DIY, you don't really see it that much these days, but he's truly just doing it himself, man.
Let's say that's an awesome thing to see where he sets up a match and it gets announced, and then somebody comes up to him and goes, "Oh, why are you doing, the match between these two people?" And, he seems very much like a person that just goes, "Why not?"
That's exactly it, man.
Yeah, and just to kind of hype up too, it seems like over the recent years, so to speak, WrestleMania weekend has taken on a life of its own, more or less outside the WWE. And you've gone to many WrestleManias as we've documented on the show before. What do you think is the draw that just kind of goes bigger and better every year for WrestleMania week for the indies?
Well, I think that you've got so many fans coming in, not only from other states, but many other countries. You have a huge presence coming from the UK, huge presence coming from Australia, and, of course, other countries as well. But I think part of the appeal is that you have so many people coming in that you can afford to run so many shows. It's not so much forcing people to choose what shows to attend, because the venues aren't always huge and a lot of times sell out, as we see with pretty much every show on the collective that GCW is running. But it's more of a buffet than a choice. Not everyone's gonna like the same stuff, right? Not everyone's gonna want to go to the same shows. And you just have a huge opportunity to see whatever you want, But, before a show sells out, generally, excluding spring break this year, you could check out cards and see what appeals to you the most before buying tickets. And, I see people complain all the time about, how there's just too many shows running Mania week. And, I get that side of the argument. Truly, I do. But at the same time, they're forgetting just how many people are in town for this. And they're not all just WWE fans anymore. You know, they're fans of independent professional wrestling. It just carries over, and it's convenient. And I think that's a big element that people forget.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I mean, we obviously know everybody's in town for WrestleMania. It's the grandest stage of them all. I mean, it's just the history and tradition with it. But going through all the indie shows, is there any that our listeners would really say, okay, I don't know anything about this. Why should I go to this one?
Oh, boy, am I glad you brought that up, man. I think most excited to be returning to Interspecies Wrestling. Show is Interspecies Wrestling presents Boner Jam 4. That will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Jersey City. I'm going to be taking on the role of the trash man for, one final hurrah.
Oh, boy.
And I'm part of their food fight.
Really, break that down for us.
Food fight, man. It's more or less what it sounds like. It is a professional wrestling match where all food is legal, and you use said food to fight. There's about 15 people in the match, I'm pretty sure. I've got plenty of ideas of what I'm going to do. It's going to get messy.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Fun. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. It's going to get messy, but it's going to be a fun time. And I think the thing about ISW is that there is not a single show that week or that weekend that's anything like it. You got their two marquee matches going on. You got the food fight, and then you got the fans bring the redacted match. By redacted, I mean those colorful toy blocks that may or may not have a Batman movie attached to them.
I mean, that's only ISW.
That's Interspecies Wrestling, man.
Right to the letter. When is that show going to be, George?
That's Thursday, April 4th, 7 o'clock p.m., sir.
Right on. And then when is JoeyJanela spring break?
Spring break part 1 is 8 o'clock Friday the 5th. And part 2 that I'll be appearing on is 11:59 p.m. April 6th. So more or less Sunday morning.
It's a good way to kick off the day.
Oh, yeah. Just don't sleep,
No, I mean, obviously there's so much going on. I mean, is there any other shows like I know you got a lot going on that week, but is there any other shows anybody else running that is like, yeah, you know what, if I could make it to this show, I should get down to this one?
I tell you, man, I had a really great time watching GCW's Bloodsport last year. Last year it was Matt Riddle's Bloodsport. Riddle got signed to WWE.
Right, he's got a big weekend.
This year it's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's recently, I believe, signed to Bellator MMA today, if I'm not mistaken, too.
I believe so. How familiar are you with this card?
No, I mean, there's just so much going on this weekend. I mean, going into it. And just overall, I mean, for you being an indie wrestler, just what does this all represent?
I think diversity is huge. I think, it really represents that there's more than one style of pro wrestling. Like, yeah, man, I understand being a fan of the WWE. Of course, I still am. I grew up one. Been watching them religiously since I was about 7. And, as frustrated as I know Coach over there can attest to this, as frustrated as we seem to get at the product, I'm not so sure we're ever going to tap out on it.
I mean, we never give up on it, right?
Oh, that's it, man. But at the same time, it's nice to have options, man. Not every Fed is a competition of the WWE, Just because I like steak doesn't mean I'm not going to roll the Whataburger or McDonald's and eat a burger once in a while, right?
Oh, fair enough.
They don't have to be on equal levels, but you can enjoy both of them.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what this really represents, man.
I think the other great thing about this entire lead up with the indie shows is if you're, no matter what level of a fan you are of professional wrestling, whether you just like WWE or you like the indies or whatever else it is in between, what this entire week and weekend represents is like you have a dream match. There is a very good chance you could see it at a show this weekend because, like you said, everyone's going to be there.
Exactly, man. You ever wanted to see David Arquette wrestle Timothy Thatcher? Guess what?
It's happening.
Mania week. If you ever wanted to see Hornswoggle wrestle Scott Steiner, guess what? It's happening Mania week.
Uh-huh.
It's just
I can keep going on, man, but there's whatever you think of, it could happen Mania week. If it doesn't happen this year, it could happen next year. Just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a wild experience. I mean, I was even hearing, too, I mean, there's going to be a couple rock bands involved, too, or lead singer is going to be wrestling in a match.
I believe Brendan of the band Wheatus is in the clusterfuck. I think he's a tandem with Spider Nate Webb. I'm pretty sure they're one entrant collectively.
Interesting. I mean, it's just wild to think of just how, WrestleMania week has just like really just embraced the whole idea of just running, different shows and just giving fans just so much to just pick and choose from.
Right, and I think it's awesome, but I think the feds that are going to be successful coming out of this are the ones that establish originality.
Mm-hmm.
And, they prove that they're different than everyone else. I think interspecies wrestling's doing a hell of a job with that. I don't think Janela could possibly do a better job than he's doing right now.
Right.
Of course, there's other ones. I understand you guys go to Excite Wrestling.
Absolutely, you know that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Joey Ryan's running a show. Joey Ryan's penis party.
Yep.
There really is something for everybody.
Yeah, it's very just cool to see when somebody gets to run their own show and just do their own thing and just kind of see where it goes. Because I mean, most, like you said, most of the major independent companies are going to be wrestling or doing a show there. I know Impact's got a huge show going on too, amongst others. Like that was the one that really caught my eye.
Yeah, I mean, I think originality is key here. That's it sounds like a simple point, but I think it's the most important point.
Absolutely. So that being said, rather. WrestleMania week is done. Is this the last match?
As of now, yeah, man. Now, again, realistically, I don't see myself having another match past this. But I said that last time, too, so who the hell knows?
Right, I remember.
I can tell you from a personal level, things couldn't possibly be any better than they currently are in the real world away from pro wrestling. And right now, it needs 100% of my focus, and I plan on giving it that. I mean, that's not to say I'm going to hate wrestling from here on out or anything. I'm still a fan. I'm not cocky, or I don't have an ego to the level where I'll just refuse to go to a show ever again. I'm here to have a good time, man. I don't care what side of the guardrail I'm on.
I think for you, just knowing you for the amount of time I've known you, this is a time in your life that you weren't top of the world. You weren't, known all over the internet and all over the world. But it's a time that you can look back on and say, you know what? I had a dream. I pursued it, and I created some long-lasting memories that I'm never going to forget.
That's it, man. Padawan, you were in my class with Dr. Shariko.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I know you know. What year was that? 08, maybe?
Yeah. 08, 09, somewhere in there.
Over a decade ago.
Yep.
Coach, you've known me since what, 06?
Yep.
And from 06 to through 2014, I didn't shut up about it.
I mean, I was there when you drove to Philly, and I was there when you drove back from Philly that day, and then I was there for, when you actually drove there and stayed there.
Yeah, so I mean, all three of you gentlemen have been literally here the entire ride. Now, it's not about how long the ride lasts, it's about what you get done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went in, and the only goal I had was having one professional wrestling match. And I did that. And within a year, I got to debut at CZW, which was the fed that I was most into as a young adult, a teenager. I got to wrestle on my birthday in Binghamton. My 28th birthday, I got to wrestle for 2CW on my birthday in Binghamton. And really, I've gotten to do so much cool stuff, and I've gotten to do it all on my terms. And I get to leave on my terms. And not a lot of people could say that, especially like relatively injury-free. You know what I mean? I'm in good health, and I think that's incredibly important as well.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with it. I mean, that's probably the best way to go out if you're going to go out, if you want to retire and hang it up, that is. You want to just leave on your own terms.
I had a great time. What can I say? It's been awesome. And, I've got stories for the rest of my life. And I've got an icebreaker built into whatever conversation I have with someone new. It's like, oh, tell me about yourself. Funny story. I once had a fake last name and wore green trunks. And guess what I did? Threw my body at people.
Yeah, that's one way to definitely break the ice in the room. So tell you what, George, we're gonna take a quick break. Well, I want you to hang on because we're gonna talk WrestleMania. But before we go to break, why don't you let our listeners know where, if they want to find some George Gatton merch before it's all said and done, where can they go?
I'm glad you asked, sir. That would be georgegatton.bigcartel.com. Got, I think, 5 designs up. 4 of them are safe for work. And the 5th, not so much. Grab what you like. And they're on soft style shirts. Do you know why? Because I value your comfort as a customer. That's why.
Can't put it any better than that. George is going to hang out with us next segment. We're going to break down the big show going on this weekend. You are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, #ODPH podcast.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gazdick from Crimson Brethren and Floodlands, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for the final segment on the special edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, #ODPH podcast. George Gatton is staying with us on the line, and we're going to talk about the granddaddy of them all. I can't even talk because I'm so amped up for it. WrestleMania weekend. This Sunday is the big show, the WWE's, dare I say, Super Bowl of professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
So let's break down the card, shall we? Coach, what you got?
All right, well, let's, in no particular order right now. I guess we can kind of just go by match and kind of pick a favorite and who we like in it and what we're going to, something to look for. So leading off, it looks like it's the women's battle royal.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like some now confirmed entrants are Asuka, Carmella, Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Nikki Cross, Dana Brooke, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Mickie James, and Zelina Vega.
Very talented roster in that one. I like Naomi in that one.
I'm going to go with Asuka.
2 in a row, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to say 2 in a row.
I'm gonna have to say Asuka. Just, I think, given she just lost the title, she's gonna look to get a little bit of that mystique back. The old nobody's ready for Asuka, and kind of get back to that winning ways she had.
Yeah, I think it was just a bad thing that she lost the belt to Charlotte before Mania, because I would love to see Asuka defend the title there, and not really add more to the main event, because the main event is gonna be the main event. But I could definitely see that going either way with that, and I mean Asuka's definitely a heavy favorite. George, who do you have in that one?
You know what? I think I have Asuka as well. I think she's one of 2 people that might make sense in my brain. If not Asuka, I could see Lacey Evans getting a big win.
No, that would make sense too with how they're pushing her.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a win to really kickstart one's main roster appearances, right? Oh, matches, I guess, because, she's pretty much doing the Abe Simpson thing right now. Showing up and turning right back around.
Then up next, we've got the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Okay.
This one for me, I feel like it's the Braun Strowman, Michael Che, Colin Jost show, and everybody else is just there for grins and giggles. With as much as they're putting into this between Braun Strowman and of course Michael Che and Colin Jost, hosts of Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, I feel like with as much as they're putting into this, it's going to be either Michael Che or Colin Jost. I don't know how, but I just feel like with this, they wouldn't put so much focus into it if there wasn't a realistic shot that the 2 of them could win it.
I mean, for me, I don't think that they're going to go that route. I could see, Braun to me is the favorite unless they do some sort of schmaz thing where he gets distracted by the SNL guys and take off. It's just more so to me this was Braun Strowman. This was the man that was going to be, was on a trajectory to, be at the main event at Mania, and now we're talking about him opening the card.
George, what you got?
Listen, I have a pick out of right field. I do think that there's going to be some sort of schmoz with the Weekend Update dudes costing Braun the match. My pick to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is Ali.
Okay.
I can easily see that too.
You know what? I think the SNL guys are going to take away a little too much from this match. I do like Ali in that as an upset. I would even go on and say possibly Mojo Rawley again. I'm going to say maybe because the whole Gronkowski might be in town since he's retired. Who knows? Like what they might end up doing? Could that be a debut for him again? And maybe they're going to do a tag team thing. Who knows? But I'll go on a limb and I'll say Mojo.
Up next, we have the first championship match. The Women's Tag Team Championship are on the line. We have Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Tamina versus the Iconics versus Beth Phoenix and Natalie.
George, who you got?
Natalia? Is that what you meant?
Yep.
Yeah.
What'd I say? Natalie? Oh, my God. I'm sorry. Natalia.
I've got the Iconics in this one, man. I know that's an interesting pick since their win-loss record isn't that great. But I'm fairly confident that every championship is going to change hands on this card.
Whoa. For me, I'm going. I think Bayley and Sasha retain. I think that they probably hold on to it at least till SummerSlam together, and they kind of go from there. I think that their connection and they want them to carry the titles to give it a little prestige.
I can see it being Beth and Natalia. I feel like just, the run Beth had of course, being the Hall of Famer, and then you look at Natty and the run and kind of everything she's had. I think, Beth coming out of retirement, so to speak, and having this match, I think it's going to be those two. And it's going to be, a moment for the two of them that it'll go down as something a lot of people remember.
I want the Iconics to win very badly, but I think Sasha and Bayley are going to hang on to it. And I have this vision that at the end of the night, they're going to be involved in the main event somehow, either in the post celebration or in the actual main event. I haven't figured out what yet, so I'm going to say Sasha and Bayley.
Our Cruiserweight Championship, we have Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese.
George, what you got?
I got Tony Nese. Buddy Murphy's had a hell of a run, but Nese is a New York boy, and in the world of the WWE, there isn't a difference between New York and New Jersey. Tony Nese all day.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Tony Nese as well.
I'm thinking the same thing. Buddy Murphy, like you said, George, has had a long run, longer than I thought it would have gone on. No fault to him.
Lost run, too, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I definitely think, Tony, it's going to be Tony Nese's weekend.
If there was ever a guy that has really broken out since he's been on 205 and really made the reintroduction to the main roster, I think it's Buddy Murphy. He has been absolutely killing it on 205. That being said, though, I do think they're going to change hands, and I think this one could be a sleeper of the night. So I think Tony Nese does walk away with the belt, and like I said, this could be a match of the night candidate.
Up next, we have the independent darling AJ Styles versus the WWE guy Randy Orton.
George, who you got?
I've got Randy Orton in this match. I think it's going to be an awesome match, and I think this actually might be the match of the night. Despite me not being the biggest fan of Randy Orton, I think AJ Styles for years has been the best wrestler in the world, and I think Orton is, extremely natural in the ring at least. So any and all the cool things that AJ Styles can dish out, I think Randy Orton can take. Got Randy Orton up in this one though.
Yeah, I think that this has a chance to be a real sleeper. I mean, especially with the way that Randy Orton. To some fans kind of coast by. I think AJ is going to bring, another level out of him. I think somehow, some way, I think AJ is going to pull this match out. I think it's going to be a sleeper match for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I just want to say something else real quick. I don't mean to jump in, but the last time I felt this way about a Randy Orton match was his match with Seth Rollins at Mania 31.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be pretty tantamount to that match. So if that is the case, I think we all have a lot of reason to be excited.
No, yeah, this is definitely a match that I think a lot of people might be sleeping on just because there's nothing involved. It's AJ and Randy. But I think these are two guys who can very much work off of each other in a very good way. And I think by the time this match is said and done with, Randy's going to be the winner, and I think we're going to be adding another moment to the highlight reel of classic RKO moments. The Evan Bournes, the Seth Rollinses. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just foresee the two of them working out something absolutely insane that, we're talking about it for the next week to a month.
AJ hasn't done a 450 lately, has he?
Not to my knowledge.
I believe he's tried to.
Maybe that's going to be the moment. I'm not saying I know anything, but I'm going to go down a limb. I'm going to say AJ Styles. Don't ask me why. I think this is going to be a great match, but I'm just going to take AJ.
See, I was thinking that he'd go for the springboard 450 right into the RKO.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, he's going to try doing a 450, and that's where he gets caught in, and it's going to be like one of the best moments ever.
I can see it, man.
Up next, we have Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. The who put the question on the teleprompter there, guys? Who put the question mark up?
It was me.
All right, George, since you put it up, you break it down here.
Man. Yeah, I typed that question mark up there, Coach.
Well, why'd you do that, George? What do you think's going to happen here?
I did that because my pick for Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle is John Cena. Angle that night. Cena's going to come out, and Cena's the real opponent. I can't imagine that Kurt Angle's going to go out wrestling Baron Corbin.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching the announcement because I was so excited for the potential of who it could be. I mean, anybody on the roster really at this point.
Yeah.
And then just the absolute just not even good heat, the go-away heat that Baron Corbin got as he came out to be the last opponent was, too much for them to ignore. So, yeah, I mean, I would have to say I would agree with George that's going to be a John Cena big surprise. He isn't on the show as of right now, and he is slated to be there. So I like Cena. I don't see them having Kurt lose in this, but, against John Cena in a big return match, I'd probably go and lean Cena.
No, yeah. To me, I feel like while the card says Baron Corbin, it's not going to be Baron Corbin. Just it makes. I get storyline wise, if you're keeping up with storyline wise, why it had happened, but just from a fan's perspective, it makes no sense why you would have it against Baron Corbin. Oh, hey, who was your last match of your WWE career? Oh, it was against Baron Corbin. No offense to the guy, but it's like that's not to me that like one I'm talking about with my friends and family down the road when we're reminiscing about great final matches of a wrestler's career. That's not going to be high on the list. I think it is going to be Cena. I think Cena is going to do the job for Angle in one more moment and kind of, give Kurt the shine that he needs to kind of go out on top and let the fans give that, thank you chant and everything else you're going to expect.
I don't know, man. I feel like that breaks a pretty big unwritten law in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that tradition.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be an awesome match either way.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Angle does beat Corbin, and I think Angle comes back on Monday night and says, no, I don't feel like leaving. I'm going to stay around. And that's when John Cena wrestles him. So on the night after Mania, that's going to be the match against Cena, and that'll be the retirement match.
Okay.
Throw a little curveball in there.
Yeah. Up next, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre.
George, what you got?
I've got Roman Reigns, sir, all day.
This
is his big comeback, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Roman Reigns strong.
Yeah.
I think Drew might get a little early offense in, but then I think it's drive-by, Superman punch, good night.
I'll say this is definitely going to be a very physical match. The two of them are big, strong guys. They can dish out the punches and they can take them in spades. This is going to be one of those matches where you're watching it and you're kind of, oh, that looked like it hurt a little bit. But I think Roman's going to come out on top on this. All the momentum is there for him.
Yeah, I sense it's going to be the same thing, even though I'm absolutely on Team McIntyre. I think Drew, since he's come back, has just been on a tear. And I think he's going to be world champion before a year is over, without question. But I think for right now, though, it's Roman big over there. Not a squash match, but I think he's going to win big.
Yeah, up next we have The Miz versus Shane McMahon in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
George, what you feeling on this one?
I've got Shane O'Mac up, and I've got Shane O'Mac up due to a perhaps botched interference from one Mr. Hero George Mizanin.
Really?
I feel like there's no way Mizdad isn't involved in this match, especially now that it's Falls Count Anywhere. I just don't see a possibility of him not being involved.
Yeah, the storyline the entire time has been making the Miz's dad proud. So what better way to have the Miz lose? And in that New York City spotlight there, the crowd would eat that up to have Mr. Miz come and cost his son the match. But yeah, I'm gonna go Shane due to Miz's dad.
I would say I got to admit I had no idea where this one was going to go. I know the story. I know what's been going on with the setup to it. But when you brought that up, no, that makes all the sense in the world. It's something that Miz can work with and can run with in beautiful fashion for the next couple of months. But so yeah, I think it's going to be Shane via a botched interference from Miz Dad.
Yeah, this one, looking on paper, I want to say Miz. I really do, because I think he's long overdue to have a real big solid win like that. But I could definitely see the Miz Dad interference, dare I say heel turn, that would just be completely wild if they decided to go that route.
Man, yes.
Yeah, I like reaching, that's my whole thing with that. But yeah, I think it's going to be Shane via Miz Dad botch, and where they go from there, I mean, who knows? Who genuinely knows?
Up next, we have something that I am very much looking forward to, in Triple H versus the returning Dave Bautista in a no-holds-barred match.
I'll say with the stipulation, if Triple H loses, he has to retire from his in-ring career.
George, what you got?
I got Triple H. The entire story is that he's never beaten Batista, and I just don't see Triple H having his retirement match just yet. Like, it's coming up, but not quite yet.
I'll say, yeah, that's the thing I'm kind of leaning with, because if you watched Raw this past Monday, they did run a promo before Batista came out for all of like 45 seconds, where the one thing they kept repeating over and over again was the clip from SmackDown 1000 where Batista said, he's done everything in the business except beat me. And I feel like they're not going to mention that 1,000 times in like a 2-minute, 3-minute, promo video or whatever it is, if he was going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved this Batista return. That first night for Ric Flair's birthday, and do I have your attention yet, Hunter? I mean, I was watching that and just legitimate like fandom there. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I would love to see Batista win just from the standpoint of the fact that this return's been great, but I mean, Triple H's career on the line, like George said, it's not Triple H's time just yet. I mean, we all probably assume that he's gonna, have the crown and the throne here soon from Vince, but it's not yet. So I think Triple H wins.
Triple H all day. Like, there's no real purpose for him to lose and go into retirement just yet. And like I say, I don't know exactly who he's going to have his retirement match with just yet. I mean, I could think it ultimately will be against Seth Rollins. I just have this odd feeling just down the road, not for a couple of years. But I think for this match, though, I think Batista's kind of doing a little more hype. He's got the movies coming out. He obviously Guardians 3 is going to be ramping up at some point. He's got Suicide Squad. He's been tagged to, so he's going to be disappearing for a while again. And this is just a great, solid match for Mania. But Triple H all day.
After that, it is Bobby Lashley versus the Demon, Finn Balor.
George, what's your feelings on this one?
The Demon, sir. The Demon. I'm sadly not so excited for this match. Don't necessarily think it's going to be a bad match by any means. But, as a big fan of Finn Balor, just a little bummed out. But I just don't see the Demon losing, especially WrestleMania. I also don't see this being a very long match.
No, yeah, I'm a big Finn Balor guy like you, George. I don't see them bringing out the Demon for its first appearance at WrestleMania and having him lose. Finn Balor all day.
Yeah, I'm just excited for the Demon to be at Mania.
Oh,
I think it's going to be an awesome entrance. Obviously the stage hasn't leaked yet, but just the creativity that guy has as far as like portraying the Demon and everything is going to be tremendous. And yeah, the Demon doesn't lose. So Finn Balor.
Had they not revealed this on Monday night that he was coming as the Demon, I would have said Bobby Lashley. I really would have. I think his work with Leo Rush has been spot on. Except for the pose. I think that's annoying. I'm not a fan of that. But I will say, I think since Finn is doing the Demon, I mean, Finn has definitely stayed healthy enough that, a good IC run, I think, could definitely be in his future. I'd like to see it. I mean, he's the first Universal Champion, let's not forget. So, obviously, I'm going to take Finn on this one. I think this is going to be a really good match.
After that, we have Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio in the United States Championship match.
George, what's your feelings on that?
I see Joe retaining. It could honestly go both ways, but I do see Joe retaining. I think it's going to be an awesome match. This is probably my match of the night, personally.
No, I think it's going to be Joe. I think you look at kind of the quote unquote beating Rey Mysterio took on Monday Night Raw from Baron Corbin, and they were kind of bringing up, you can't be less than 100% against Samoa Joe going into anything, especially with WrestleMania. I think that's definitely going to play a quote unquote factor into it, but I think it's just Samoa Joe WrestleMania, title match. Enough said.
And it's Samoa Joe's first WrestleMania. How crazy is that?
Yeah. I was just going to say that, too.
Ken's reaction when he said that was one of pain.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go with Joe. I think that him as a United States Championship on a SmackDown show that might have a face champion at the end of the night. They might need a little, a heel to be running a championship. And I just think the way that Joe's style is, it pertains to, it's just something that shows dominance. So I like Joe in this match.
The fact that Joe is healthy, and like George said, this is his first WrestleMania. So he is going to go in there and want to make a statement. I think it's him all day. I'm absolutely loving his run as U.S. champion right now. And obviously this is going to be a big moment for him. So I'm definitely saying Samoa Joe all day.
After that, we have Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship.
George, what you feeling on this one?
I've got Rollins up all day, my friend. I think Seth Rollins has been on a tear this year. Absolutely at the top of his game. It's a wonder how this dude's getting a run once he's healthy. And he's going straight to the top, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, George. I mean, I agree with what you said about him being on a tear. I think right now the work that he's done has been, that of like a Shawn Michaels in like 95-ish type time.
He's walking that line, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tremendous. I mean, he's been really the flag bearer for the company right now, especially when the championship was gone and Roman was out. So to put the strap on him would be great. I think it would be a fitting way to have WrestleMania go. But with this match not being the main event, and I'm not taking anything away from the matches that are after it, I'm just saying with the way that the match order is, and the way that Vince, traditionally likes to, send everybody home on a good note, I kind of see Brock winning this one and retaining, and then leading to Roman down at SummerSlam.
I think it's gonna be Seth. Like everybody said, Seth's been on an absolute tear the last couple of months, year plus. I think it's his time. I think the fans' frustration with Brock Lesnar, especially the last couple of months, is very vocal and very noticeable. I think it's just one of those things that you put the belt on Seth, you can really finally get a good run with the Universal title on a regular basis, which you haven't had to have. Yes, it had a great run with Kevin Owens and that whole thing, and then but Brock took it back, and then the issue with Brock is he's a money draw. Yes, he moves the needle. Yes, people watch to see Brock Lesnar, but then he disappears for 4 months and you don't see him. I think if you put the belt on Seth, you can finally get a good run with the Universal title and not put it on hold for 4 months waiting for Lesnar to come back for SummerSlam.
I beg to differ, and I'm going to say Lesnar, and I'm going to say Lesnar big. Why, you ask? Simple. I think Vince wants him to take that belt to the UFC, and when he does his fight with Cormier this summer, I think he wants him walking in as WWE champion, in my opinion. I want Seth to win. Oh, go.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, if you don't mind a little bit of devil's advocate.
Sure.
Since that fight is happening over the summer, what's holding Lesnar back from, say, winning it back?
Well, it just depends on when that fight's going to be. Like, they haven't made a formal announcement of it. I just think that depending on when it is, and he starts going into training for his fight against Cormier, which I'm convinced is going to happen, I think that he just wants to go in there with the belt, and I think it's going to happen relatively, I don't want to say sooner than later, because they've already stacked most of their fights going through July. So if he does lose it and then wins it back, it just depends on if he's going to come in and maybe do a squash match to win the belt back. Because I don't really see him doing any in-ring activity after WrestleMania, because I think he's going to start training right into the fight. And I just have this odd sense that they want to see him walk in to the UFC with the WWE Championship title. That's just me.
Hey, that's absolutely fair, man.
After that, we have Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship.
George, I'm very curious on your thoughts on this one.
Oh, boy, do I have thoughts. Let me tell you, man. We're talking about company flag bearers. I hadn't seen a performance like Kofi's in the initial gauntlet match since Rollins had that gauntlet match on Raw.
Yep.
In which he had a fucking absolute breakout performance. I think Kofi has been at the top of his game for years now. He has yet to disappoint in the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, other than his initial weird Jamaican vignettes, he's been on fire since arriving 11 years ago. It's his moment, man. Now's the time. Kofi Kingston, and boy, man, I cannot wait to see this match.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these two have the potential to do something really big. I too, I mean, yeah, it's Kofi's time right now.
Yeah.
The storyline is there, albeit that it has been, you know, for some people, you know, in the bigger, broad scheme of things, been a little controversial, to say the least. I love the idea of Kofi winning here. I love the idea of him, you know, finally defeating, you know, this just dastardly Daniel Bryan with all the things that he said. And I think Kofi wins, and I think New Day come out, and I think they have a great celebration. It's a good way to lead into the main event.
No, yeah, this match is going to be incredible. You've got a guy like Daniel Bryan who obviously can go. You've got a guy who like Kofi Kingston who can go, and a lot of people just know him for his, you know, his ring antics when it comes to the Royal Rumble and just the absurd ways he gets out of the ring without eliminating himself and then manages to get himself back in. But you look at his work over the last 11 years and the time and effort and just quality matches he's put in over the years. His time is now. I think this match is going to be incredible because I think you're going to have shenanigans from Eric Rowan where he's going to run down, trying to interfere, and then you're going to have, you know, Xavier Woods and Big E come down, and just I think there's a lot of potential there with everybody that's involved with these two wrestlers to really make some memorable moments, you know, in the ring and outside the ring.
Long overdue for Kofi to be in this spot, in my opinion. Long overdue. It's kind of weird, though, for me, because this just reminds me of when Daniel Bryan had his run to the title. It's almost, you know, similar, even saying the whole B-plus player thing, which it's just like, for me, it's kind of just wild to put that in perspective, and that, at least we forget, if Ali had not been injured going into, what was it, the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
Would Kofi have still gotten this push? Either way, Kofi is finally in the main event, long overdue, one of the best wrestlers they have on that roster, period. I fully expect him to win. I'm not doubting, as crazy as this might sound, a New Day heel turn for Big E.
I hope not.
I hope not. I really hope not. I could save it for the night after Mania. Just let Kofi have his moment because he definitely deserves it. I think they're going to put on a great match. I'm absolutely loving the heel Daniel Bryan, but I don't think he retains. I think it's Kofi's time. Obviously, the fans have spoken and they've been so vocal and passionate behind him. This does remind me of the Daniel Bryan storyline way too much, but you know what? I hope it ends the same way, too.
Yeah, listen, I think that a big part of this story is the fact that Woods and Big E haven't turned. I think a big part of Kofi's story is that these dudes are legitimately like his brothers and have his back through a situation where guys would, you know, clamor for a title shot, right? They're proud of him. They know how hard he's worked, and I think that's an important element to this story. So, in my opinion, I just don't see a heel turn coming for quite some time, if ever, honestly.
I hope not. Like I was saying, I'm not hoping that happens. I really don't, because I think the New Day, as they are, I mean, you can definitely tell just how well they work together, and I don't think they should break that up by any means. And I think that for Kofi, I hope he has his moment, and I hope they do the great rematch against Daniel Bryan, and I think they can definitely go some places there and have a nice feud there. So, I mean, I'm hoping they keep them together. I fear that Vince will just want to shake it up too much and just have somebody go heel that shouldn't. That's my only fear with this one.
And then, in the main event, we have Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships.
George, what is your take on this?
Come on, man. Listen, I think we're all probably going to be in agreement that Becky Lynch wins. Maybe we're not. I absolutely think Becky wins. More importantly, I think Becky needs to tap out Ronda Rousey to really solidify the win. I just don't think it's going to hold the same water if she pins or taps out Charlotte that it would if she goes over Ronda. Now, I don't think this is an elimination match. If it is, put her over both. If not, it's got to be over Ronda, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that Becky's run has been great. I mean, it's been on the Seth Rollins and the Kofi Kingston type runs. I kind of feel like some of the wind has been kind of cut from her sails as far as the lead up to this match, just with the addition of Charlotte. I mean, speak to it of what you will. I don't think that Charlotte needed to be in this match. That's just my personal opinion. I think that it was going to be a great and tremendous match, just the two of them. I worry about Ronda being in a triple threat match just from a standpoint of in-ring career, just from her expertise there. Experience, I should say. So I'm a little worried about that, just because a triple threat match can be difficult because there's a lot of moving pieces at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be Becky, and I think she's got to go over Ronda. I think her beating Charlotte really doesn't do anything. If anything, her going over Charlotte maybe could lead to, a Becky Ronda match at SummerSlam maybe. But I think, if you're going to do this, you want to do it the right way, and it's got to be Ronda.
I think it's absolutely going to be Becky. It's going to be over Ronda, because you look at the build up to this and everything involved, in the ring, on TV, and even on social media. It's been about what Ronda's been saying to Becky and what Becky's been saying back. Yes, Charlotte got added in. Yes, Charlotte jumps in on there. But the back and forth, and even maybe the fourth wall breaking tweets back and forth, have been between Becky and Ronda. I think, Becky, while yes, beating Charlotte would be a massive thing to beat her at WrestleMania in the main event, but I think her pinning or tapping out Ronda at WrestleMania in the main event would be even bigger.
Perfect world. It's Becky versus Ronda solo. Charlotte fights Asuka for the SmackDown title. Becky taps out Ronda in the middle of the ring. What I think is going to happen here is Becky beats Charlotte. And I don't exactly know how this would work out, but I think Becky is going to walk away with the belts. Like, I don't know if they're going to say before the match they're going to unify the belts and have it be something. And I think Becky's going to be the sole women's champion after WrestleMania.
That's why I want to be elimination,
Yeah, I mean, if they do that, sure. But, I think for me, I'm just seeing this as I don't see Ronda losing. And I don't see her getting pinned or tapped. I think Charlotte's in that match, and I think I can see Becky pinning her. And then Ronda comes out on Monday night and says, I never lost my belt, I should still be champion, and kind of does the Batista, I quit, and then leaves. And then comes back later. I'm saying Survivor Series later. I think she's going to be gone for a few months. Possibly Royal Rumble. And then that's when she comes back, and you can kind of set up a storyline leading for the rematch between her and Becky at next year's Mania. That's what I see happening. I just don't know the moving parts, though, with the belts and who would be champions at the end of the night. But I think it's ultimately going to be Becky standing in the middle of the ring with Charlotte, and then Sasha and Bayley in the ring, too, as well, for, the final shot as the confetti's all falling and the pyro is going off. I am taking the man. I mean, obviously, there's no bigger name in pro wrestling right now than Becky Lynch. None. Few can even come close. So, obviously, Becky has to go over. I just, like I say, I think it's going to be a little messy on how it happens. Because, like I said, perfect world, Ronda taps. And then Ronda leaves, and then you can build the rematch from there. I just don't see her doing that. I think it's going to be Charlotte is in this match, and I think Charlotte's going to be the one getting pinned. And then somehow Ronda loses the belt. Or she vacates it. Whatever the case is, Monday night, she's done. Either way, she's going to take time off. And then you build... what's that?
No, I don't mean to cut you off, but I do think that if Ronda returns at, say, Survivor Series, I think there's one match that should go down. I think that's 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen.
1,000% agree. 1,000% agree on that one. I think that's long overdue happening, and that would be a perfect scenario. Because at that time, I don't know if they're going to merge rosters again, or they're still going to do the Raw versus SmackDown thing, but that would be a perfect match for Survivor Series, and I'd love to see it. I mean, it's long. Oh, yeah. I mean, long overdue for that one. But for this one, though, I think it's going to be the man's night. I think Becky's going to be standing in the middle of the ring with the rest of the 4 horsewomen around her. And then where they go from there, it's going to be fun to watch. So
man, if Mania is half as good as it was last year, I think we're in for a treat, gentlemen. If it turns out to be like 32, womp, womp, womp. Pretty confident about it, though.
I mean, we have the NXT card to look forward to at least.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Hell yeah.
I was going to say, we've got a couple guest blogs on the Parlay Points section of the ODPH website, so make sure to check them up coming for some NXT predictions and even some more WrestleMania predictions. So, George, final thoughts before we close out this show.
Final thoughts? I love pro wrestling, and I think you gentlemen do too. There really isn't much else to say, but this week is going to be incredible for the king of sports. It's going to lead up to the show of the year in WrestleMania 35. Fairly confident everything's going to go off without a hitch, and that people are going to be talking about this week for the rest of the year.
And if our listeners want to get at you on Twitter and kind of get an update of what's happening in WrestleMania week, how should they find you?
At George Gatton. Nice and easy.
George,
just like my Big Cartel site, georgegatton.bigcartel.com, where even if you're not a fan of me, my shirts are very comfortable.
this is true. I think everybody on the panel has one at least.
Mm-hmm.
At least one.
Yeah.
So, George, that being said, thank you so much for coming on the show again. We got to do it again sometime very soon.
Sounds good, man. You know where to find me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. George, have some fun down at WrestleMania. Keep us posted on what's going on this week. And
Absolutely.
And that's all we got for this episode of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, hashtag ODPH Wrestling Edition. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Good night and good luck.
For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening. We'll see you next time.